Good afternoon. My name is Susan Doyle and I will be facilitator today on behalf of Lean Construction Ireland. I would like to welcome you to this Lean Construction Ireland webinar presented by Trevor McSharry, Head of Department of Civil Engineering and Construction in Atlantic Technological University. The title of this webinar is Introduction to the LCi Training Course Portfolio. If you have a question, please type in the question box and we will consolidate and ask Trevor after the presentation. If there are any questions that we don't get answered during the webinar, we will follow up by email afterwards. The speaker for today is Trevor McSharry. Trevor is Head of Department of Civil Engineering and Construction at Atlantic Technological University, Sligo, since 2011, and has over 25 years' experience within both the multinational and the higher education sectors. He is passionate about bridging the gap between education and industry through collaboration and has led the development of Ireland's largest suite of construction-related online part-time educational programmes, which includes industry partners such as Irish Water, the Department of Transport, TII and SCSI. He has been instrumental in leading the development of Ireland's civil engineering apprenticeship programmes in collaboration with national partners from the private and public sectors. Trevor is a Chartered Engineer and Fellow with Engineers Ireland and a Certified Project Management Professional. He holds an MBA with DCU and a Postgrad Certificate in BIM and the Digital Environment, and his research and consultancy interests include project and change management, lean and process optimization. He is currently a doctoral candidate at Maynooth University with a research focus on change and leadership in higher education. Trevor has been a director with Lean Construction Ireland since 2018, currently leading the Capability Development Pillar and is the editor of the 2022 LCi Book of Cases. I will now pass you over to Trevor. Thanks, Trevor.
Thank you, Susan. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar. So over the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to give an overview of the LCi Training Course Portfolio that we've been developing. And it rolled out there at the National Conference in November. So just to give an overview of this presentation, I'm going to first of all look at, I suppose, an introduction to myself in a little bit more detail. Also look at the, why are we looking at capability development of staff? Why is it important and relevant for the implementation of Lean in your organization? Then we'll look at the portfolio itself, which consists of a white belt, yellow belt, and green belt, and then an overview of the actual process in terms of the nomination process for trainers, evaluation, the rollout of the training, and the continuous improvement process that we've created, followed by a conclusion. So as Susan, I suppose, gave some introduction, I'll skim through this, but from an academic perspective, it's mixed from engineering to business, project management, and I suppose a social science activity happening at the moment through the doctoral program I'm on, which focuses on change and leadership in higher education, but it's also very relevant for looking at any type of changes and leading any type of changes, such as implementation of Lean in your organization. So I'll be touching on some of that. From an industry perspective, I suppose I have more academic experience now than industry experience, but so since I've joined academia, I've always been keen to keep my foot in the door with industry because of the fact that that interaction is key to successful program development and delivery, that we as academics have a very good insight into what's needed in industry and that we can address their needs on an ongoing basis. So from a Lean Construction Ireland perspective, I've been involved since 2018, actually before that, but since it got incorporated, I've been a director. And last year, I was responsible for the editing of the Book of Cases 2022. And again, I'll be just touching on some of the insights from that actual Book of Cases in terms of the context of training. And the LCi Course Portfolio is another area that I have responsibility for in terms of its rollout and management. So we'll first look at the need for capability development. So why is training important? Why is developing your staff important? And I'll just start off with the Book of Cases 2022, which is a great resource. It's the fifth Book of Cases that LCi has pulled together and published. I suppose sharing all the best practices in Ireland. So it's a great resource, and I know us in ATU have used it every year in some of our lean related programs. So within the book of cases, I suppose there was an international case with the Michigan State University looking at integrated project delivery. There was operational excellence cases, there was digitization cases, and then modern methods of construction and resource management. So again, it encompasses digitization, lean, off-site manufacture, NMMC. And then in that as well, it, I suppose, introduces the course portfolio and touches on a case study in terms of it being piloted. There's sponsored pages and then a glossary of terms and concepts as well. So within that book, I suppose I've done some analysis with some colleagues, and if you took the 17 cases from 16 companies in 2022 as examples of what's happening in Ireland, and you look at the various different tools that are being used across the country. In terms of frequency, many cases have multiple tools, so every time that a case was mentioned, I've put it in, and then through the analysis, I suppose we see that DMAIC is the first, as well as 8-Way. So they're two important tools that have been frequently used in Ireland, followed by BIM and related 3D software, availing of digitization and the efficiency that brings. Last Planner, 5S's, cloud data, which I suppose did come about from COVID and the remote working, and now we have the opportunity to build on that and gain further efficiencies. Value stream mapping and process mapping, PDCA, A3, and artificial intelligence is also coming in as, I suppose, it was referenced in 2 cases. So that gives you a feel for what sort of tools are being used in Ireland at the moment. And if we look at the benefits from those cases, out of 17 cases, if you look at the impacts or the benefits from the Lean initiative, I've evaluated it based on time, cost, and quality. So you can see there that quality is the most frequent benefit. Developing a quality culture and more collaborating and kind of a proactive can-do culture, followed by cost and then schedule. So there are some of the tangible benefits that can be gained from implementation of Lean in companies. And then from a training perspective, in 69% of the cases in 2022's book of cases, training is listed as, I suppose, an element that feeds into the rollout and the enabling of the Lean initiative, and also to ensure that there's sustainability. So I suppose that's why we're here today to talk about training. This is what industry are saying they need, and LCi are providing that training in various different guises. From my own doctoral research perspective, I just have a couple of insights here that I wanted to share that I think are relevant to the construction sector. So staff generally would believe that developing a culture of trust, democracy, and inclusion is essential and are very important, as well as having integrity, courage, openness, and persistence. So this creates a kind of a collaborative culture where everyone's voice is heard and everyone, I suppose, shares their own knowledge and becomes a learning organization. So relationships between staff is very important, and involvement of everyone is key to, I suppose, developing changes and agreeing changes and making sure they're embedded and sustained. So this is relevant for the construction sector. Also, from a strategic perspective, communication is really important. Communication down into the organization and up from the floor, and consultation for any changes. And leadership, I suppose, should have some kind of clear vision and be able to inspire individuals that change is needed and the impacts and the benefits of various changes, such as Lean. Organizationally, developing capability of staff is really important, so that staff are equipped with the right knowledge at the right time, so that they can deal with the changes. They're prepared for the changes, they know what changes are happening, and they have been upskilled to deal with those changes. So ongoing continuous professional development is something that's close to my own heart, and for people to progress in industry, you need to do CPD on an ongoing basis because of the evolution of the construction sector. Sharing knowledge and training, all very important to facilitate and embed change. So looking at the course portfolio and its development, you can see to the right, White Belt is the foundation belt, which I suppose is a general introduction and overview of lean construction. And it would be envisaged that everyone in the company would do a White Belt to give a basic overview of what it entails, why it's important, and hopefully whet their appetite in terms of moving on to the Yellow Belt. So the Yellow Belt then is at a more higher level, where maybe supervisors or equivalent might do the Yellow Belt, and then Green Belt is, I suppose, building on top of that, and it's a longer program, again, slightly more advanced tools. In the longer term, there is typically a Black Belt, which is the pinnacle of the triangle, which would be, quite advanced analytical tools for implementation of lean and I suppose creating value and minimizing waste. So I suppose it was 2020 to 22. The Lean Construction Ireland strategy was to focus on clients, contractual processes, and capability development. So within the capability development pillar, became a focus on the training provision in Ireland, and there was a gap there. Historically, LCi did have a Lean Pass course, and that did have an impact, but we wanted to rebrand that and develop a few other offerings. So funding was received from ICBE Advanced Productivity SkillNet for the development of the course material. So the first step was to recalibrate the Lean Pass into an LCi White Belt. So it was really a repackaging exercise. The content was quite similar. And then building on that, the Yellow Belt was developed, as well as the Green Belt. I suppose there was a various different sectors and stakeholders were involved in its development collaboratively, from consultants and trainers in industry, academic providers, national industry experts and international experts such as Glenn Ballard. They all fed into the development and critique of the programs. So it is at a very good level and cutting edge in terms of what lean construction is all about, nationally and internationally. So we'll first look at the White Belt, which again is a foundation qualification, and it's a half-day course, and it provides an introduction and appreciation for lean construction, and it's aimed at all staff at all levels, so everyone would get that. It's an introduction to lean and a general appreciation. So that typically was Lean Pass, but now it's the White Belt. So typically trainers should not be delivering Lean Pass, it's only LCi White Belt. On completion of this program, participants will be able to understand the benefits of lean, describe the differences between value and waste, look at reducing and removing waste, and understanding the 8 types of waste, look at a productive workflow and waste in terms of having examples, and looking at kind of starting to critique their own work and using the 5S methodology to improve how they operate. Also, I suppose they'd have a good understanding of the business why of lean, and from an individual perspective, why it makes sense to implement lean in their organization. So then you can progress to the Yellow Belt, or you can go straight into the Yellow Belt and bypass White. So the Yellow Belt is a 2-day course, and we have trainers now set up to deliver the Yellow Belt. So this is a 2-day course, and again, it's looking at things at a little bit more level or higher level. So we saw Last Planner was a common tool used in Ireland, and that's encompassed in the Yellow Belt. So there is an introduction to the basics of Last Planner. So again, on completion, participants will be able to monitor and manage performance and highlight constraints, apply the basics of Last Planner, which I suppose is a collaborative approach to project management and scheduling, having morning meetings, weekly and look-ahead meetings. So it basically creates the infrastructure for effective communication and collaboration between all stakeholders in a project, and it has proven very successful in terms of, I suppose, reducing waste, having better commitment from the stakeholders involved in projects, higher quality, less waste, and more schedule adherence. Gemba walks are also included in the yellow belt, and process improvement within the workplace. From an engagement perspective, I suppose people are looking at problem solving in teams using science or scientific methods to help problem solve and identify root causes through root cause analysis. So also focus would be on data and high quality data to have data informed decisions for any issues that do arise. The green belt then is another tool or another belt that has been created, hasn't been rolled out yet, and I'll come back to that shortly. But the green belt is a 5-day course which develops the problem solving and process improvement skills of participants to a high level. Again, it builds on the yellow belt and is aimed at those who are interested in leading lean initiatives. It looks at I suppose it will be available this year once we look at the evaluation process and get trainers to a level to deliver it. And again, upon completion, participants will be able to lead and manage overall process improvement and performance projects through the last planner system and lessons learned. They'll also be able to lead and implement process improvements on a broader perspective, on various sites and areas. They'll apply systems thinking as a holistic approach to solving problems and identify the customer and value and look at more collaborative supplier relations. They'll also, I suppose, look at cross-functional process improvement teams, which will ensure that you have a diverse group working together to address issues, which is much more effective. And that can be done to address various different processes and have various stakeholders on board. Lessons learned is a really important feature as well that comes out of this program, and using A3 as a tool to monitor and, I suppose, formalize improvement initiatives. Coaching and mentoring, I suppose, of yellow belts can be also encompassed within the program. So anyone who does a green belt will be able to provide additional supports to yellow belt colleagues in their organization. So when we were developing the yellow belt, we did pilot it at Coffee Construction. So we had, I suppose, a group that went through it, and we got some feedback in terms of the content and delivery methods. So we had an online presentation then for the first cohort that went through the program, and that was, I suppose, a useful exercise for us just to ensure that we did pilot it before we rolled it out. So I suppose now we're going to look at the course portfolio process itself. So the overarching, I suppose, process that supports the infrastructure around the course portfolio. So there's 5 steps, I suppose, I've categorized. First one is inquiry. So you might have an inquiry from various training providers who want to get approved by LCi. Those trainers could be internal trainers who have I suppose, a lot of colleagues within their organization who need to be upskilled, or you can have external trainers who provide a service to companies, so they're specialized trainers. So there are 2 types. Also, I suppose, if anyone is interested in undergoing training at White or Yellow Belt, you can go onto the Lean Construction Ireland website, where you can see the list of approved White Belt providers and Yellow Belt providers. So there's a link there, and I understand these slides will be circulated to all attendees of this webinar. So that link will take you to the website, Lean Construction Ireland, which the courses page, and then you get an overview of the white, yellow and green belt in more detail. And there's also, I suppose, links to the nomination pages and other resources. So that's the inquiry step. So I suppose if you are interested, you can click on the courses page, and that will bring you to all the relevant areas that you need. So then, I suppose, if somebody is interested in becoming a trainer with Lean Construction Ireland, then you would have to first of all check that you're eligible. So the first step is to, I suppose, there's 2 links there, which are nomination forms. They're web links on our website. So you can click on the white belt. So you need to be set up first of all as a white belt training provider, And to do that, you click on this link, complete the online form, and in that you'll also include your CV and your company logo and provide some information in addition to that. So if you're deemed suitable, then you can progress to deliver the yellow belt after that, once you do two white belt courses in construction or in the construction sector. So once you go through those forms and nominate yourself as a white belt, then that will come to myself, and I coordinate the Link Construction Ireland Capability Evaluation Panel. So there's 3 directors or nominees who look at the applications of trainers and determine if they're at a suitable level for providing training for LCi. And I suppose if they're deemed approved, then they would get access to all the relevant resources that have been developed, which has been led by LCi. So the resources would include the slides, the actual presentation format, and all the slides of the course, the participant certificates, and various other forms as well. So once they're evaluated and approved, then they can start delivery of the course that they've been approved for. So when they deliver the course, they would, I suppose, present their own registered trainer certificate that they would get from LCi to confirm that they have been approved to deliver the relevant belt. And then they would email, at the end of every course, email the participant registration form to LCi at that email, training@linkconstructionireland.ie, to give an overview of the names of the participants who completed the course and also the company. So that will help us then, I suppose, monitor and track the progress and impact that these courses are having in Ireland in terms of training for construction or lean construction. LCi then will invoice the trainer as required, and LCi aren't involved directly with the trainer charge to the participants. So then I suppose we've put in a continuous improvement process so that there is going to be ongoing refinement of this process itself, and also the training material and the quality assurance process. So the trainer will ensure that participants complete an LCi training course feedback form, and that's the link there, it's on the web. So the participant will complete that form. That form will gather data for LCi so that we know that the training experience has been positive, that the participant is, I suppose, finding the material relevant, and also, if there's any feedback for the course to be improved upon, we'll be able to act on that. So that's an important, I suppose, QA tool. So we'll be monitoring that feedback on an ongoing basis, and so will the training provider, so that we can continuously improve the process. So that's a quick overview summary of the process that has been rolled out over the last month or two. So just touching on the fee structure and requirements for trainers. So there has been, I suppose, clarity around what needs to be in place. So all organizations that have approved trainers running courses must be, I suppose, current corporate members of LCi, whether it's gold, silver or bronze. The fees owed to LCi by the approved trainer will be invoiced and payable either on a monthly or quarterly basis. So for white belt, I think that's €20 per participant. For yellow, it's 50 per participant. And then for company in-house training, for those trainers, there's a fixed fee of €400 per year, which is irrelevant of the number of people getting trained through the LCi training portfolio. The green belt, as I mentioned, is under review at the moment. The material has been created, but we are looking at the evaluation process of trainers, and we may be looking at creating a program that the trainers need to undergo to achieve the standard needed. So we are hoping to roll out that program at some stage this year. And then there is further information on our website, and there's a link to that which covers the trainer nomination requirements and governance. So there's some more details in that link. So just to, I suppose, finish up from a conclusion perspective, We've seen the capability development of staff is a key component to effective change leadership, whether it's in higher education or whether it's in the construction sector. And training is a key part to capability development. CPD, accredited training, experiential learning, peer review learning, and learning by observation, for example. And these courses are, a central asset to the training opportunity that exists in Ireland. The LCi Course Portfolio has set a sectoral standard for lean construction training in Ireland and enables sectoral-wide lean construction capability development. And I suppose from our perspective, it's a global first of its kind undertaking, because there is nothing like this at the moment for lean construction in particular. And the development of it was founded on a collaborative approach with all stakeholders from academia and also from industry. So I suppose LCi would strongly encourage companies to join as members if they're not members already, to demonstrate their commitment to the implementation of lean, to put forward cases in the book of cases, for example, and to invest in their staff through lean construction training. And I suppose by doing so, you're creating that foundation to look at ongoing continuous improvement within your organization, and I suppose improve value and efficiency, improve the quality culture of collaboration and quality, and keep costs down, because that will happen automatically. So that will make your organization more efficient and profitable, which means that you will be able to, I suppose, be more competitive and ultimately grow and hire more staff, which is what we all want. So I suppose the other point is that LCi, the website for LCi has become a really good hub for many different excellent resources, from the webinar recordings like this webinar. At the moment, there's about 50 odd webinars recorded. So they're there for anyone to look at in their own time, and a lot of really good resources there recorded for upskilling on a self-directed basis. There's various reports nationally and internationally that are on the website, and the book of cases is there in soft copy. There's five different cases now since 2018, so I suppose there is a great opportunity for you to look at those in your own time as well, and upskill as well as doing the various lean courses. So on that note, I'll like to thank you for your time, and hopefully that overview has been insightful to give you an overview of the background of I suppose LCi, touching on the book of cases, understanding why training is important for you in the construction sector as a I suppose engineer or supervisor or manager or any stakeholder. I suppose training is going to be relevant. So now I think I'm going to pass you back to Susan, and we may be able to have some questions and hopefully some answers to those questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Trevor, and thanks for that presentation. It was very insightful. We'll now move on to the Q&A session. We have several questions in already. Again, just to remind you, if you have a question, just pop it into the question pane and we'll ask Trevor. Trevor, do you want to just put your webcam back on? If you get a chance, just press the button there, Trevor.
Okay.
Yeah. Why did LCi lead the development of these training courses?
So why did we? Because there was no similar course available. Like in manufacturing, there is this sort of structure of white, yellow, green, and black belt, but they're for manufacturing and service sectors, not for I suppose the construction sector, which has a unique enough culture. So what we wanted to do was kind of look at that sort of model, but customize it for the construction sector, which is a different animal essentially. So we were happy to lead that initiative in collaboration with academia and I suppose subject matter experts nationally and internationally, so that those programs could then become the standard to, I suppose, upskill with. And the goal is that these are rolled out and become the standard. So ideally we'd have a vision that all construction workers in Ireland would have the white belt done, just so that everyone is looking at improving the quality culture and collaborative culture in the construction sector. So that's a big challenge, but we're hoping that this will help address that challenge.
Okay, perfect. Just a question from an attendee. Can you give an example of some of the feedback from Yellow Belt introduction to coffee construction?
Yeah, so I suppose the training will depend on the trainer. So the trainer will bring their own industry experience to the table. So I suppose just to make sure that you do get a training provider that has a good understanding of the construction sector. And our review process to evaluate trainers encompasses that element. So, people have done very good, accredited lean training. And so long as they have an appreciation for the construction sector, they'll then be able to work with those construction sector employees to apply those tools that are generic and transferable, and to understand, how they can be used in their daily lives within their workplace. So I suppose that would be one point. They found it, I suppose at another level in terms of building on the white belt. So it did give them a nice introduction to some basic analytical tools, as well as the last planner. So we do see the last planner as something that is used more and more in Ireland as a key tool, and that's, I suppose, included in the yellow belt. So Coffee did find that, I suppose, very useful.
Okay. Another question from an attendee. They may be interested in becoming a white and yellow belt trainer. Can you give them an indication of the training material you will provide, assuming they were successful in their application?
Yeah, so I suppose, as I said, there's really good resources available for white and yellow belt. So the main training material is delivered through PowerPoint. So there'll be multiple slides, a slide deck essentially, that will be used for the white belt. It'll be one file. For the yellow belt, I think it's broken up into smaller chunks because it's over more than one day. So they will be made available. There's also some templates for the tools to use and suggested simulation games to use for the yellow belt. And the process, I suppose, is introduced to the trainer, as well as the resources and the templates for the participant logs is provided, as well as the certificates for themselves as certified trainers, and also certificates for the participants of the trainers. So the trainer would administer the certification of the participants and feed the names back to LCi so that we have a record.
Okay, perfect. Just somebody else is asking, when will the green belt become available?
Yeah, so what we wanted to do was get the white and yellow belt process up and running, and then once they have momentum, then that will create, I suppose, a stronger market and need from the construction sector for the green belt. So the green belt, we're hoping, will be rolled out at some stage in 2023. So that's, I suppose, something that we are aiming for as a key objective this year.
Okay. Someone else is asking, why would someone undergo the white and yellow belt?
Well, hopefully I touched on many of the reasons. So I suppose, as I said, continuous upskilling and professional development is important for everyone. So if you want to succeed in your job and take on more responsibility, which should lead to higher salaries and more career progression, you need to upskill. So lean construction is something that is becoming really important. It'll look really good on your CV, but more importantly, it'll help you think about your job differently. It'll allow you understand what you do from a process perspective, so that you can understand what waste is, and you'll challenge what you're doing on a daily basis and see, can you do it better? And by doing it better, you're helping yourself in your role, and also you're helping the company improve, and you're, I suppose, more open to collaborating with others as well and solving problems that might be happening on a regular basis. So without having a kind of lean understanding of training, you mightn't be able to understand how you can look at those sort of things differently. So it will be very helpful for all of those reasons.
Okay, perfect. There is another question coming in, just someone asking, they have a desire to train and join LCi. How do they go about this? But you answered that in the presentation. The links will be in your presentation, and we'll send them out tomorrow, the next day, along with the recording. Another question here: what is involved in arranging an LCi course for my company?
What's involved? So the company, I suppose you need to first of all assess how many you would hope to get trained. Then you can go onto the LCi website and typically start off on White Belt. So you can see that there's multiple training providers available who are certified to deliver White Belt. So you can pick any of those training providers. You might go with somebody who's closer geographically to your company, or somebody who I suppose you know, or who has a reputation that you're aware of. The White Belt actually, I suppose, was originally intended to be face-to-face delivery, but during COVID, we also allowed it to be developed or delivered online, like everything else went online, and that created, I suppose, significant efficiencies, because we know that the construction sector staff are, either on site in the office or at home. So that's a whole new scenario, and to, I suppose, cater for people to upskill on a flexible basis, we have, I suppose, permitted the White Belt to continue to be delivered online. So it is an option for people. So, you need to think about the provider, and you get that information on the LCi website, and the delivery method, whether you want face-to-face or online. So we would envisage that the maximum cohort in any training course would be 15, 16 people, and the best trainers would maintain that, because they want to have a good interaction between themselves as trainers and the participants.
Okay, perfect. We have no more questions. You completed them all. Do you have any last thoughts?
Yeah, like, I suppose the challenge I think that people have with lean is the time. Everyone is very, very busy with their own roles, and it's hard to have the discipline or the headspace to step back and reflect about what you're doing. And without doing that, you're going to always be chasing your tail in a rut. So you need to create that space to stop and think and look at what you're doing and challenge what you're doing, and look at upskilling. And then with those tools that you get through upskilling, you'll be able to do your job, I suppose, more effectively, more efficiently. And I think if you start implementing those improvements, you'll then be able to feel rewarded personally for making those improvements. You might get recognition for that and get on more responsibility. But it is a very rewarding, I suppose, process to be involved in, because you can see tangible savings from making those continuous improvement initiatives. So I think it's an exciting time for the construction sector. It's certainly getting a lot of traction. I think we've about 90 corporate members in Ireland at the moment with LCi, and hundreds of individual members. So you can join individually as well if your company isn't a member, so that you can keep up to date with what's happening. But I would recommend, keeping attending the webinars, looking at the book of cases, the previous webinars. Come along to our annual conference. I think the 9th of November is the date for our conference in Croke Park this year. Yeah, I think there's some really good resources available in addition to the book of cases, to help, I suppose, the sector understand what's happening in Ireland, and also sharing best practice with each other, so that we can all improve the quality of what we do. That's really it.
Thanks, Trevor. Sincere thanks again to Trevor for today's webinar. Please note that a copy of this webinar will be sent out to everyone who attended. Information will be sent out shortly in relation to the next webinar. For information on this and other webinars, the annual conference, the annual book of cases, and other LCi resources, please visit leanconstructionireland.ie and follow the Lean Construction Ireland LinkedIn group page. Finally, thank you to everyone who attended today, and we very much look forward to meeting you at a future Lean Construction Ireland webinar. Have a lovely day. Thanks again, Trevor.
Thanks, Susan. Take care.